All right. Welcome back. We are on day 8 of ACT Prep Unit 1, Pre-Algebra 1 topics. And today we're talking about addition and subtraction of fractions and mixed numbers. So when you do addition and subtraction of fractions and mixed numbers, you follow these steps to add or subtract fractions and mixed numbers. Estimate first. Again, we've talked about estimating first. It takes time. It's smart, but it takes time. Then you compute, and then remember to write your answer in simplest form, and check your answer against your estimate to make sure your answer is reasonable. A mixed number has a whole number part and a fraction part. So like 2 3/4 is a mixed number. Just a little bit of review. Mixed numbers are pretty worthless in my book. Okay, they just make life more complicated. So you have a couple of choices. If you're going to type this in a calculator, that would be 2 plus 3 divided by 4. If you type it like that, that's what it would do. If you want to write it as an improper fraction, which is what I usually do, you go down and multiply. So 2 times 4 is 8. And then you add the top. 8 plus 3 is 11. And you keep it over the same denominator. So 2 3/4 would be the same as 11/4. Okay, so there are some ways to deal with mixed numbers. All right, so when you're adding fractions and mixed numbers, again, I use my calculator. If they're small, it might be easier to do by hand, but I know that most everybody absolutely hates fractions. So if we're allowed to use the technology that will do it for us, let's do it. Okay, a fraction is nothing more than a division problem. Okay, and then I strongly suggest when you type fractions, you use parentheses. So I typed parentheses 2 divided by 3 plus parentheses 3 divided by 5. I get this big old long decimal, which is probably not going to be one of my answer choices. So I make if you hit your math key right here, and then you want choice 1, so you hit math 1, enter, or math enter, enter, and it will take your decimal and convert it into a fraction for you. That would be 19/15. Now, the problem with that is if that answer isn't there, it's because they want it as a mixed number. So you have a couple of choices. I can just take the decimal part and retype that in. But if you're going to make it think that it's repeating, you've got to type those 0.6s till it gets a lot of them, almost to the end of the screen. And then I math enter it, and I get 4/15. And what that means is that 15 goes into 9 one whole time, and 4/15 left over. So, as a decimal, my answer is 1.26 repeating. As an improper fraction, my answer would be 19/15. As a mixed number, my answer would be 1 4/15. And on ACT, who knows? He could put any of those 3 answers on there. So you've got to be ready to convert them to whatever form they want. Okay, so now for 2, to type this in, I typed 1 in parentheses, 1 plus 3 divided by 4, plus parentheses 7 plus 1 divided by 3, and I got 9.083 repeating. So I do math enter, and I get 109/12. Okay, if that answer isn't there, it's probably because the top is bigger than the bottom, and this tells me that it goes in there 9 whole times, and then this I turn into the decimal part. So I type 0.08333333 until it's all the way to the end, and then I math enter it, and it tells me 1/12, which means this as a mixed number is 9 and 9 and 1/12. Okay? So for 3, I'm going to type in 14 plus 2/3 minus 3 and 1/7, and I get 11.523 blah blah blah. As a decimal, as a fraction, I get 242/12. Top is bigger than the bottom. This tells me it goes 11 whole times, and when I type in the 0.523895 and I try and turn it into a fraction, it gives me the decimal back. And what that means is they didn't give me enough decimal points to figure out what the fractional part was. So what you have to do is kind of old school. You go 242 by 12. 12 goes into 24 twice. Take away 24 leaves 2. Oh wait, no it doesn't. Yeah, 242. Oh, divided by 21. Sorry, you're like dyslexic much? Like, no, why are we getting that? I'm sorry, 21. That goes in there one time. Take away 21 leaves 3. Bring down 2. 21 goes into 32 11 times. Take away 21 leaves 11. So it goes 11 whole times, and what's left over is 11. So I have 11, and 11 over 21 would be my answer as a mixed number. And that's what I did here. I took 242 minus 21 times 11, because that's what you're doing here when you take off what you would do. Okay, which leaves 11 left over, so it's 11 over 21. And notice, there's my decimal part, but they needed 80952. They needed these other two places to get it into a fraction. Okay? And the next one, if I type 5 plus 1/5 minus 2 and 5/6, I get 2.36 repeating. If I turn that into a fraction, I get 71 over 30. And that would be 2 whole times. And I tried typing 0.36 repeating in, and it gave me the fraction 11 over 30. So it's 2 and 11 over 30. Okay? And give me just a second. Let me check something. Yeah, okay, we're good. Alright, so you try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got 7 and 1/8. It says the following table shows how far Frank rode his bike this week. What is the total number of miles that Frank rode on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday? So they're telling me to take Monday, 2 3/4, plus Wednesday, which was 7/8, plus Friday, which was 3 1/2. So if I type those in, 2 3/4 plus 7/8 plus 3 1/2, I get 7.125. Math and or enter it gives me 57 over 8, which isn't one of my choices. So I know that this is going to go 7 whole times, plus this much left over as a fraction, which is 1/8. Okay? Alright, so again, this is calculator work. What I'm going to do is, you hit pause, or what you should do is hit pause, type these in, and see if you get the answers I get. And if you don't, oops, I guess I better do the mixed number things. Okay, so for this one, I get 1.09, which means 1 whole time and this much left over. Well, what is that as a fraction? I type in the 0.0925 blah, blah, blah. When I try and math and or enter it, it gives me a decimal back again, which means it doesn't have enough decimal places to round for me. So you're taking 21 into 23, which we already know goes 1 whole time. Well, 1 times 21 is 21. 23 take away 21 is 2 left over, which means I have 1 and 2 over 21. Okay, 2, check your answer. You should just get 13 over 18, which is fine. There's nothing else. The top is smaller than the bottom, so we're good. 3, you should get 31 over 39, which is proper, so we're good. 4 is not proper. When you type it in, you get 1.25, which means 1 and 0.25 left over. So I turn 0.25 into a fraction, and that gives me my 1 1/4. Okay, 5. I type it in, I get that decimal, math and or enter it, is 31 over 24, which is improper. So this tells me it goes 1 whole time and 0.2916 repeating left over. So I tried to turn that into a fraction, and I did, and it gave me 7/24, so I know it's 1 and 7/24 left over. And again, I just typed in this in to check it. Is 1 plus 7/24 the same as 5/8 plus 2/3? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. They check. We're cool. Okay, try 6. And I got 31 over 24 once I math entered it, which is improper. So this tells me it goes 1 whole time plus 0.2916 repeating left over. So I type in 0.2916 repeating left over, and we just had that, and it's 7 and, oh look, you get the same exact answer for these two. And 7/24 is left over. Okay, try number 7. I got 1.65 as a fraction is 33 over 20, which is improper, so this tells me it goes 1 whole time and 0.65 left over. 0.65 math enter leaves 13 over 20 left. Okay, try 8, and I typed it in and got 1. Okay, now mixed numbers. Well, mixed numbers and just regular fractions. Alright, so up here, 8 1/3 plus 6 3/7 gives me this. It's very improper, and this tells me it goes 14 whole times and 0.76 whatever left over. When I try and math enter it, it gives me a decimal back, which means it didn't give me enough decimal places to convert it back to a fraction. So I kind of got to do it by hand, and this says that 21 goes into 310 14 times. Okay, so if it goes in there 14 times, 21 times 14, I don't know what that is. Well, 21 times 1, take away 21 is 10. 2 goes into 104 times. 21 goes into 104 times, which would be 84, which leaves 16 left over. So it's 14 and 16 over 21. Okay, try 10. Sorry, I wrote all over it. I type it in, I get 16.38 blah blah blah. This tells me it goes in there 16 whole times and 0.38 blah 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 left over. Again, when I try and turn the leftovers into a fraction, it gives me a decimal back, which means it didn't have enough decimals to round, or not to round, to convert. Okay, so I have to do it kind of by hand, and this says that 21 goes into 344 16 times. So 21 goes into 34 once. Take away 21 leaves 13. 134, that goes 6. That's 126, which leaves 8 left over. So I have 16 and 8 over 21. Okay? And another way, guys, it's just that it depends on how nasty these numbers get. You could just, if typing the whole mixed numbers makes you nervous, it actually does make me nervous. If this was me, I would actually turn them into improper. 6 times 3 is 18, 19, this would be 20 over 3. 9 times 7 is 63, plus 5 is 68 over 7. And then I would type this in. I don't know, mixed numbers on the calculator make me nervous. But I did them just so you would know how to type them. Alright, on 11 I typed those in and I got 21.625. As a fraction is 173 over 8, which is improper, which tells me 8 goes into 173 21 times. So it's 21 whole times and 0.625 left over. If I try and turn the leftover into a fraction, I get 5/8. So my answer is 21 and 5/8. Okay, try 12. I typed it in, I got 42.583 repeating. As a fraction is improper, but this says 12 goes into 511 42 times and 0.583 repeating left over. So to figure out what 0.583 repeating left over is, I math enter it, and I get 7/12, which means my answer is 42 and 7/12. Okay, 13. I type it in and I get that decimal, math enter it, I get 1 over 34, which is proper, so I don't have to fix it. Okay, 14. I type it in, I get 0.24 something, math enter it, I get 83 over 342. Okay, 4/7 minus 3/10 is 0.27 something. Math enter it, and I get 19 over 70. 16, type it in, I get 0.13 repeating. Math enter it, and I get 2/15. And I love it when they come out proper, because then we don't have to do this mixed number garbage. Alright, so let's practice some more, typing some subtraction. I typed the first one and got 0.56 repeating. Math enter it. My answer is 17 over 30. 18, I typed it, 4 7/8 minus 2 5/6. I get 2.0416 repeating. Math enter it. You get 49 over 24, which is improper. Well, this tells me it goes 2 whole times plus 0.0416 repeating. So I turn that into math enter, and that gives me 2 whole times and 1/24 left over. Okay, 19, I type it in. 25 minus 8 4/5, I get 16.2. Math enter is improper, but this tells me 5 goes into 81 16 whole times. My leftover 0.2 as a fraction would be 1/5, so my answer is 16 1/5. 20, typing it in, 6 5/8 minus 2 2/3 gives me 3.9583 repeating. Math enter gives me an improper fraction, but this tells me that 24 goes into 95 3 whole times. And if I turn the 0.9583 repeating into a fraction, I get 23 over 24. Okay? 21, type it in, 11 plus 3/5 minus 6 3/4, you get 4.85. Math enter it is improper, but this says 20 goes into 97 4 whole times. Take the 0.85 and math enter it, and you get 17 over 20. So my answer is 4 17/20. Okay, 22, type it in, 10 plus 4, 10 4/5 minus 3 1/3 is 7.46 repeating. Math enter it is improper. This tells me that 15 goes into 112 7 whole times, and 0.46 repeating left over. So I type 0.46 repeating and math enter it, and that gives me 7/15. Okay, 23. 46 minus 31 3/4 is 14.25. Math enter is an improper fraction. This tells me 4 goes into 57 14 times, and a quarter left over, which is a fourth. You can do it on the calculator, but that should be one you pretty much know. Okay, 24, 21 3/8 minus 16 5/6, 4.5416 repeating. Math enter is improper. This tells me that 24 goes into 109 4 whole times, and 0.5416 repeating left over. 0.5416 repeating left over, math enter it is 13/24. So my answer would be 4 13/24. Okay? Alright, you try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got B. It says, Fast and Thrifty Shipping Company charges $6 a pound for packages. A company has a shipment of 3 packages weighing 3/5 of a pound, 1 4/15 pounds, and 23/30 pound. How much will it cost to ship these packages by Fast and Thrifty? Well, what you're going to do is you've got to add all those up to figure out how much weight you have total. And that gave me the total weight, and then, or total pounds of packages, and then if they charge $6 per pound, that means I need to take my answer and multiply it by 6, and that gives me the 15.8. Okay, try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got 10 7/20. Jill bought some fruit at the grocery store. She bought 2.5 pounds of apples, 3/4 pounds of bananas, 1 2/5 pounds of peaches, and 5 7/10 pounds of watermelon. What is the total number of pounds? That means add. So I'm taking 2.5 plus 3/4 plus, you can't see it, but it's all typed in there, 1 2/5 plus 5 7/10, and I get 10.35, which is 10 whole, and 0.35 left over as a fraction would be 7/20. Okay? Try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Alright, hopefully you got 2 and 3. It says Alice needs a rope to be at least 8 feet long. At least 8 feet long means it's got to be greater than 8. Can't even equal. Well, you know, it can be equal. At least is greater than or equal to. She has 4 smaller ropes of the following lengths. Alice can tie the ropes together. However, when she does so, she loses a total of 1/4 foot. Which of the following combinations of rope will not give Alice a piece of rope at least 8 feet long? So we're looking for, when you tie the ropes together, which one won't be at least 8 feet long? Well, if I try the first one, I add the 4 2/3 plus the 4 2/5, and I get this. But I remember I got to take off. I lose 1/4 foot of rope, but that's still bigger than 8. So this will. This is yes. If I try 1 and 3, I take 4 2/3 plus 3 3/4, which looks like over 8. But remember, you got to take off the 1/4 that you lose by the knot. But that is bigger than 8, so that's yes. When I try 2 and 3. 4 2/3. Oh, sorry, that was 1. Yeah, 2 and 3 now. 4 2/5 plus 3 3/4. I get 8.15. Take away the 1/4 of rope for the knot, and that's 7.9, which is not greater than or equal to. So this one is the one that will not give you at least 8 feet. You can check the other ones, but again, if you know there's only one possible answer, once you get it, why bother? Okay, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got H. It says all of the following equal 1 except. Well, that means you have to figure out what each one of them equal. So I type this in, I got 1. I type this one, I got 1. I type this one, I did not get 1. So there's the one that doesn't equal 1. Okay, you can check the other ones, but again, if you know there's only one answer, then why bother? Try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Hopefully you got 1/4. It says Rich, Brian, Jack, and Chad ordered a pizza that is cut into 8 slices of the same size. Rich ate 2 slices, Brian ate 1 slice, and Jack ate 3. What fraction of the pie was left for Chad to eat? Well, you take 8 pieces, okay? Rich ate 2, so take away 2. Brian ate 1, take away 1. Jack ate 3, take away 3. There's 2 pieces left. It doesn't say how many pieces are left. It says what fraction of the pie is left. Well, there's 2 out of 8 pieces left. Okay, so 2/8 would be 0.25. They don't give me decimals. Math enter it, and you get 1/4. Alright, and that will do it for day 8 on Unit 1. I will see you next time for day 9.